football, harsh reality. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Greg Romero Wilson, for Fantasy Football, harsh reality. This is, here we go. It is week 13. And without question, you know where you're at. I mean, you're either in, you're out, or you're on the bubble. There are some guys that need to win this week to get in, and usually I'm in that position. I have to admit that usually in year after year in one of my leagues, I usually wind up in that position where I have to win to get in. But that is not the case. This is a true season of fantasy football in one league and harsh reality in the other. In my league of record, which is a term coined by my friend Adam Rank. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out my interview with Adam Rank from NFL Fantasy Live. That is on all of my social media, so be sure and check that out. It's a very fascinating look, both at the way this season has impacted his show, because they're doing it via Zoom instead of in the studio, as well as, fantasy football in general, and he names the player he thinks is going to be in the most championship teams. Last year, it was clear it was going to be Lamar Jackson. But this year it's a little murkier, and I'll tell you who it was. He said it was, he believes it's Aaron Rodgers, that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the player on the most championship teams this year. I don't know that I agree with that. I'm not sure who it is, right? For me, it was Kyler Murray. I thought Kyler Murray was going to be that player, but again, I think this week will be very telling for him because he's obviously been banged up. He's not been running the way he has been running all previous season, so maybe it is Aaron Rodgers. I think it might be Herbert. I mean, I was on the Deshaun Watson bandwagon. I'm riding Deshaun Watson in my league of record where I'm in second place. And now he doesn't have Will Fuller, which, by the way, obviously Will Fuller was one of those guys that every season he would get injured dramatically for the rest of it. And this season, he becomes the number one wide receiver, and all of a sudden he's not injured and everything. And I guess we found out why. He's a little juiced holding him together, which apparently it works. Those steroids, boy, they really do the job. Let's roll through these games, because if you get a win, for me, I'm playing for seeding in my league of record, but with Deshaun Watson, I don't have Mike Davis or Christian McCaffrey. I still have Derrick Henry. I still have Stephon Diggs, but the Cowboys are going up against the Ravens, and I'm playing Amari Cooper. I mean, there's still a lot of things that are not going my way this particular week, so it may hurt me in terms of the seedings where I'm in a position right now where I should get a bye week. I don't know that come Wednesday or Tuesday night of next week that I'm still going to be in that position. But I'm definitely in the playoffs. There's no way I fall out of the playoffs. Now, and just conversely, in the Harsh Reality League, which is my comedians league, I am out. Mathematically eliminated. I needed a couple of big wins, and the Wilson wave didn't happen. I thought we were going to really take off, and then fucking Brady went out and got me 2 points during the middle of, against New Orleans, and I was fucked. All right. Mostert or Gurley? Well, first of all, we got to see if Gurley's even going to play, and even if he does, let's see. The Falcons are up against the Saints, and the Saints have allowed one offensive TD since week 9. So right there, I think you got to go with Mostert. The Bills' defense is not last year's defense. They're a pretty good defense, but they're not an incredible defense. I think you can absolutely roll with Mostert on that one. Thank you, John Mesh, for the question. And yes, if you have any lineup questions, now let's chop it up. Saints-Falcons, right off the bat, expect less from Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill came out, shot out of cannon and did like 24 points, and he scored 2 touchdowns. He had this great game and beat the Falcons 2 weeks ago. I think this was 2 weeks ago. But, this Falcons team, this is a different team. Okay, in the flex, Gurley or Landry. Landry does this every season. Landry waits until late in the season and all of a sudden he comes alive. And if that holds true, then I got to say Landry, and the Browns are up against the Titans, which is they've been playing very good defense lately. But again, Gurley versus that New Orleans defense, I think you go Landry in that one. I think he's going to see more opportunity. Now, in this Saints-Falcons, I think you play both defenses. I think those are the must start in this one. I think you're okay to start Michael Thomas, and Ridley on the other side. But ultimately, I think this game's going to turn out to be more defensive. Even though on paper, you think it's going to be a highly offensive game, I think this Falcons defense they're not going to let Taysom Hill run all over him like he did last time. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they see him coming this time. And I expect the Falcons to actually win this game, although I don't know how. They might win it 6-3. I don't know. But I think the Falcons defense is going to play a lot harder. I think those defenses are the must starts. And I think you're okay to start Thomas and Ridley. Let's see, Lions versus Bears. See, here's the thing. They fired Matt Patricia. And normally, we saw this already we saw this with Atlanta. We saw this with the Texans, where you fire the coach and all the players are all excited and it's like, yeah, let's go out and prove that it was him and not us. But the problem there is that, Stafford has an injured thumb, apparently in his passing hand. He apparently has some, tendon issue, and they're going up against the Bears, and they're going to be outdoors in Chicago. So while normally I'd be like, dude, I think Stafford's going to erupt in this game where he's off the leash and he's probably going to get to do all the plays they wouldn't let him do. I don't see that happening in this one because, dome teams play like shit in winter weather. And I don't care if it's not snowing in Chicago. It's still going to be colder than a witch's tit in a brass bra. And I think you stay away from that motherfucker. So your most starts here, I think, are the Chicago defense and A-Rob on the Chicago side. And then I think you're okay to start David Montgomery and the Lions defense because the Bears offense is still garbage. I mean, they brought back Trubisky, for just a little bit. Oh, we have a question here. CD or Lazard this weekend? Well, listen, I think if you're looking at Green Bay has a better matchup. Let's look at that really quickly. Although Lazard, I mean, he hasn't been that involved in the game plan. That's the thing there. Whereas CeeDee Lamb is involved. Oh, yeah, they're up against the Cardinals, so he has a better matchup there, and you know that Aaron Rodgers is going to sling the ball. And the problem you have is CeeDee Lamb, they're going against the Ravens. But so it's a 50-50. I'm going to call that a coin toss. I think CeeDee Lamb is definitely going to see more targets than Lazard. And if you saw last week, even though CeeDee Lamb didn't do good last week, he could have caught that touchdown and had a very decent week. So I think I'm going to stick with CeeDee Lamb, even though it is a tougher matchup, just on pure volume. I think he's someone that's going to, I think he's going to see a little more action. He's going to get a little more roll, a little more action coming his way. Plus that, I mean, at a certain point, with Zeke not doing great, this defense, I think they're going to have to throw the ball. Joey Gay, he's looking at that is us behind me, Joey. That's us right up there from when we went to that festival and wound up in the local newspaper for being a couple of drunk idiots. So that's what's up. So moving on, Colts versus Texans. And again, if you have a matchup question, you got some Meshinators, he just added, while we're doing this, I'm watching some of the alerts come along, and John Mesh just added, who was that? He dropped J.K. Dobbins and added somebody else, and I was like, who was it? Booker, a good waiver wire pickup. Yes, absolutely. Considering the matchup, he has a plus matchup this week versus the Jets, which are give up the third most points to running backs. And Josh Jacobs has officially been ruled out. And I picked up Devontae Booker in both my leagues. And this isn't like the Brian Hill situation last week, where I picked up Brian Hill and then I took him out of the lineup because I was like, he never does good. And sure enough, it was Ito fucking Smith. Okay, but I feel Devontae Parker is going to have a good game. Is he going to be Josh Jacobs? No, but he looked pretty good when he was out there running the ball last week in relief of him. So that's right, Joey. But so I think Booker is a good guy to pick up, and I think he's a good guy to play. And if he's still cheap on the DFS market, I think he could be a strong DFS flex play. Colts versus Texans. This is week 1 in post-Fuller, and the Colts are a very tough defense. Honestly, I kind of hate this for Deshaun Watson. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to have to run the ball. David Johnson is back, but so what? I mean, he hasn't been that good all season. I don't expect him to come back and all of a sudden be the guy we were hoping he'd be this season. Maybe he is. That would be a lovely surprise if that happened. But if anything, I'm just hoping they keep Duke Johnson out there as a wide receiver because they're going to need the help. So your must-starts in that one are the Colts defense and Michael Pittman. I think Michael Pittman should have a big bounce-back game. I think you're okay to start Jonathan Taylor, Naheem Hines, Brandon Cooks, Kiki QT. I think you're okay to start both Watson and Rivers. I think all of these guys are going to be involved in the game plan, and they're going to get some kind of action. I just don't know what kind of action they're going to get. My sleeper in that, though, I have two sleepers in this, Akins and Burton. Burton does that, shows up, gets a touchdown, disappears. But he's been kind of consistent with that lately. And I like Akins because, again, they got to find some new receivers. He's got to get the ball to somebody else, and I think it might be Akins. I think Akins might be the guy that benefits from all that. Bengals versus Dolphins. I mean, the must-start here is obviously the Dolphins defense and Myles Gaskin. Gaskin is back. He got activated like 2 hours ago or something like that. So I think you got to start Gaskin. And the Dolphins defense, I think, should do, for one, they're in Miami. They're not having to go up and play outdoors in Cincinnati. That would change things. So, since they're at home, I think the Dolphins defense has a field day with this Bengals team. And I think you're okay to start T. Higgins. I think, obviously, all those guys are going to struggle on the Bengals side of the ball. But T. Higgins, this guy's such a talent. I can't wait to get him on my team next year. I think this guy is big time, especially with Joe Burrow hopefully coming back next season. By the start of the season, we'll see. But I think T. Higgins is still okay to start. And he's the only one that I would start on the Bengals side of the ball. I don't think you could trust it. Because, again, and that's the other thing. Now it looks like they are going to bring back Tua, who I was excited. I was like, here comes the Tua show. And so far, it's been just okay. It's been very reserved. So it's tough to say. If Tua starts, obviously, that's going to affect everybody's downfield viability. But if Fitzpatrick starts, he's going to sling the ball because he don't give a shit. In which case, Devontae Parker becomes somebody you can play. So if you're going to do DFS first thing in the morning on Sunday, check that. Because if Fitzpatrick plays Fitzmagic, he's not Fitzmagic. I mean, he has moments of Fitzmagic and a lot of Fitztragic. Jaguars, Vikings, you have to start Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen, Dalvin, basically all of your Vikings. And you do have to start James Robinson. They have proven that they are just going to hand the ball to James Robinson. Say, here you go, James. Oh, yeah, we're down 30, but fuck it. James, you run the... It defies all logic. But it's great if you have James Robinson, which I did, and I'm an idiot. I think you're okay to play the Vikings defense. I think the Vikings defense is even though they're not a great defense, they're playing, Mike Glennon is a turnover machine. He is interceptions and sacks waiting to happen. He's a statue in the backfield. He isn't going to run. I think the sneaky, cheap DFS play, Vikings D. Raiders v. Jets, you got to start Carr. I know Carr stunk last week. I wasn't anybody that recommended him, but primarily because I don't think I did my preview show last week because it was Thanksgiving and I was all full and drunk and having a good time. But I love, first of all, Derek Carr. Gurley is not worth starting because we have a question here. He says, Gurley worth starting. I would stay away from him. If you have another option, if you could pick up Devontae Booker, I would go that route. I would not start Gurley this week because he hasn't been that great to begin with. And this New Orleans defense is playing fantastic. They're now playing like the defense everyone thought they were going to be from the jump. I mean, people were calling them the number one defense right out of the gate. And so now, and again, we don't know how banged up he is. We don't know how many touches he's going to get. He may only come in at goal line, and even then, he might not get in. There's a lot going on there. If you can stay away from Gurley, I would stay away from Gurley. Stephen John with the comment, he says, you sexy. Thank you, Stephen John. You sexy too. But you have, okay, so I love Carr in this bounce back. I think he comes back and has a great game. Carr does this. He has great games, then utter shit games. You're like, who the fuck are you? And then all of a sudden he comes back and fucking has another big game. And again, this is against the Jets. You can't get a better matchup than against the winless Jets. So, I love Carr, I love Booker, I love Aguilar, I love Waller. I think you're okay to start Frank Gore because I think they're going to have to run the ball and try and control the clock. And I think you're okay to start the Raiders defense to have a good day. Okay, so now, going back over some questions, we have Rowdy Beck loves fantasy football. We'll get to Rowdy Beck. She's favorite. She loves the football as the so feet. All of them are so feet. That's my Rowdy Beck impression. It's so bad. Calvin, Ridley, or Debo? We have a question here. Calvin, Ridley, or Debo? I'm going to say Debo. Even though they're going up against wait a minute, have that wrong. Let me make sure we know the matchup. They're going up against the Bills. Okay, yes, absolutely go Debo. Debo's been amazing. Ridley, he's been struggling. Julio Jones may be in, he may be out. And again, this New Orleans defense is playing some lights out football. For me, I'm going Debo because they're using Debo in multiple ways. He's not just catching balls. They're using him as basically like a jet sweep halfback. I mean, they're using him in a lot of different ways. So for me, you go with your gut, Aaron, but for me, I would say Debo this week because again, I think that's a tough matchup over there against those New Orleans Saints. Can I still play Kamara or should I play Debo Samuel in the flex? Here's the thing. I mean, you want to roll the dice and you want to just go for it, I would roll with Debo because what's been happening with Kamara. But at the same time, I mean, you have to stick with Kamara because he's been so amazing. And with them focusing on shutting down Taysom Hill, I think he's going to have to give the ball. But lately, we've seen that when he's in, he hands it to Latavius Murray instead of Alvin Kamara. But I just don't know. If you're playing for something, stick with Kamara. If you're rolling the dice, play Debo. Good luck. Thank you, Stephen John, with his great addictive advice. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm having fun. I'm from England, know nothing about football. My only hope is for an MMA impression. This may not be the show for you. I don't do a lot of the MMA impressions in here because it's just me and I'm really talking like the way that Adam actually really knows all the MMA fighters on MMA Roasted. That's the way I really know fantasy football. So I don't do as much, over there I'm the color guy. Over here I'm more of the analyst. So I try and work in some fun stuff and doing voice, but it isn't the same. It isn't quite the character work I do over there, but I love talking fantasy football. Let's talk Browns versus Titans. This is going to be a big run day both ways. You must start Henry, Chubb, and Hunt. I think you're okay to start Tannehill. I think he's going to be able to get the ball down the field a few times to A.J. Brown and probably Davis. And I think you're okay to start Landry. I mean, Landry, again, he does this. He waits till the very end of the year. Then all of a sudden he takes off. And the sleeper in this one is Jeff Swaim because John O. Smith is out. Maybe Jeff Swaim steals one because, they've been doing that thing where they use Henry as a decoy at the goal line and then they throw it to the fucking tight end and ruin my fucking day. But that being said, if they do that, it's going to go to Jeff Swaim. Rams versus Cards, man. This is another one that looks like it's going to be a shootout, but it's probably going to be more defensive. Again, it's because of, Kyler and his little tippy toes, he's not doing that right now because he injured his shoulder. He doesn't want to get tackled on the shoulder, doesn't want to get hit, and it's affecting his ability to get the ball down the field. And we can see that by the fact that DeAndre Hopkins had no shit, but suddenly, Kenyon Drake, you son of a bitch. He's been getting touchdowns because they got to run. They got to actually hand him the ball. I love it. Deal. He's really trying to get me to do the MMA stuff. He goes, understood, but I know for a fact Bob Sapp played football. I played football for about 5 minutes. They kicked me off the team when I tried to eat the football. Maybe I should just do all characters during this. And that's the thing. I wish football players had as much personality as fighters do. Fighters, it's an individual sport. You really get to see their personalities, hear their voices. With football players, it's not like I can name a guy and just start going into an impression of him. Because, the only one I think we know a little bit is kind of, Patrick Mahomes kind of sounds a little bit like Kermit the Frog. He kind of... we're going to go out there, we're going to play our game. That's about it. But nobody else we really has that kind of a persona that's imitatable that we do a lot in fantasy football. It just doesn't come out much. So I think you must start the Rams defense. I think the Rams defense is the must start in that game. I think you're okay to start Goff. I think, again, Goff, bounce back weekend, good matchup, not great, but good. Not as good as versus the Jets, but not terrible. You have to start, you're okay to start Kyler, Drake, Cam Akers. If you got to start one of these guys, Cam Akers. Nation, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Exactly. The old Skittles line. The old Marshawn is, I'm just here so I don't get fined. Which I get it. Listen, you know what? Why? You don't want to talk to the media? You don't talk to the media. I think the sleeper in this one's Gerald Everett. Obviously, tight ends, crapshoot. You want to take a shot? I like Gerald Everett in that one. Giants, Seahawks. The Giants' defense is better than people think, but ultimately, I think that the Seahawks go through them like a hot knife through butter. I really do. I think you must start Russ, Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, Lockett. I think you can play Lockett with confidence. I think he's going to get opportunities this week. And I think you can play Gallman with confidence because Seahawks have not been good against the run. And Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram's going to be a great day. I think you're okay to start Carlos Hyde because he's been seeing some real action, because they don't want Chris Carson to use them all up right now. And my sleeper in this one is the Seahawks defense. I think the Seahawks defense is they're at home. And granted, not saying 12th man is going to be a factor, but I think the Seahawks defense will actually be able to score some points in this one against the Giants offense. It's, NFC East. It's NFC East. I think that's all I have to say. They're middling good for the NFC East. That's terrible. Eagles, Packers. Oh, man. Packers are going to be packing them in. They're going to be fudge packing those Eagles. The Eagles are just going to just get fucking packed. That's what I expect anyway. Must start all the Packers. Rodgers, Adams, Jones, and on the other side, Miles Sanders. Packers aren't that great against stopping the run. This is actually they're really bad against stopping the run. So I think they're like giving up the third most points, something like that. So Miles Sanders, I think now again, he hasn't been good. He looked so great at the beginning of the season, got injured, came back. He must still be playing injured because he's not good, but I think he will have a good game that night. And my sleeper in this one, Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams is going to get some play and have a good night. Because I think they're going to have the opportunity. I think they'll be up on him pretty big, and I think there's going to be no reason to use wear out Jones. And I think Jamal Williams is going to get some carries. I think he's going to have a nice second half. Patriots versus Chargers. It does raise the question. Which Patriots defense is going to show up? Which one? We don't know. Because some weeks they look like world stoppers, and then other weeks they look like a sieve. I don't know what to make of these guys. But versus the Chargers, it's a decent matchup. I think they can stop them enough to win the game because the Chargers are like 3-9 or something. They stink. But 3-8. Patriots 5-6, but that doesn't mean that Patriots can't or that the Chargers can't put up points. Herbert can put up points, and we all know the Patriots like to take one guy away. Okay, a deal. All right, we'll do one more in just a minute. But we know that the Patriots defense takes away one guy. So who are they going to stop? Herbert or Eckler? Because you either got to try and take away the passing game or you got to take away the run game. And I think, we'll see. It'll be interesting because whoever it is, the other person's going to benefit. So either Herbert's not going to have a great day or Eckler's not going to have a great day. So if they shut down Herbert, that means Keenan Allen probably isn't going to have a great day. But Mike Williams might, because if they're trying to shut down Keenan Allen, take him away, then the action may go towards Mike Williams. So it's going to be very interesting to see who they take out. So I think you must start Herbert, Allen, Keenan Allen, Eckler, and Damian Harris on the Patriots side. Of course, now they decide they have a feature running back since I turned down that trade. Good motherfucker. But you are okay. I think you're okay to start Mike Williams, and I think you're okay to start Cam Newton. I think Cam Newton could have a pretty good day against this Chargers defense. Especially, feel like Cam, when he sees a quarterback doing well on the other side, I think he plays up to that. I think he's like, well, fuck you, look what I can do. And I think he's going to see that a lot. Yes, Joey Richardson says, I agree with the inconsistent Pats, plus Chargers are improving. These are all true things. So it'll be interesting to see. If the Chargers might be able to put some points up, it'll be interesting to see who the Patriots take out. If Greg Fry were here, he'd probably say something like, I don't care which one of them starting what. So long as they're all a bunch of pussies anyway. If I were them, I'd fight the actual buffalo behind the Buffalo Bills. Okay. Sleeper, let's go to Broncos versus Chiefs. I mean, come on, guys. You got to play all the Chiefs on that. That was for you, Adil. I hope you enjoyed it. You got to play all your Chiefs in this one. And if you want to do more of these, you got to be into MMA and watch MMA Roasted, the other podcast I do, which is Adam Hunter's podcast that I'm very graciously a part of. He graciously allows me to be part of it. I always appreciate it. Doug Femmel, how are you? That's my father-in-law joining us right now. I don't think he plays fantasy football. I think he likes to see if I'm making an ass out of myself on the interwebs. Okay, so play all your Chiefs. Okay, let's talk about CEH, because Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been pretty bad, and he's been sick. He hasn't been practicing. You may wind up seeing Lev Bell in this game, and he would be a sleeper for me. If Lev Bell actually got a chance to play an entire game, I want to see what that is. And if you check it tomorrow, and if for some reason CEH is out, man, I'm going to be watching that game. I'm putting in Lev Bell in the flex, and I want to see what happens. I think you're okay to start Gordon and Lindsey on the other side of the ball, because the Chiefs aren't that great against the rush. Against the pass, they're a little bit better. And again, I mean, Drew Lock, I think he's going to struggle in this game. But I think their only way to win is to run the ball. Control the clock. Keep Mahomes off the field. That's the only way they're going to win. How about Sammy Watkins in a desperate flex? Boy, desperate's the right word right there, because, what has he had? Like one good game? Two good games? I mean, this is what he does. And that does mean he is due. So he is due, but it is without question a dart throw. Because he just always seems to be the odd man out, because it goes Tyreek, it goes Kelsey, and then sort of Mecole Hardman, and then Watson. In fact, I would feel better about finding Mecole Hardman down there and grabbing him. Bills versus Niners. The Niners defense is on a comeback. Niners defense looked really good last week, so the Bills are going to struggle a little bit more with this team than they want. They're playing against the Niners. I'm not sure where they're going to be at, because I'm pretty sure Arizona's playing in Arizona. So, because it's a Monday night game, so they will be in Arizona. So both teams are going to be on the road. That's going to be tough. More for the Bills traveling further. But I think you must start Josh Allen, Diggs, Debo, Mostert. I think you're okay to start Ayuk, Jeff Wilson in the 49ers defense. And my sleeper in this is McKinnon. So I think this is going to be an interesting, and it's Monday night, the lights are bright. I mean, Bills are going to put up points one way or another, but the 49ers defense, don't be surprised if they get a few interceptions, maybe a few sacks in this one. I like that 49ers defense. They're a resurgent defense this week. And I like the way they've been using Debo. And Mostert is just electric, and he looked pretty good. Washington versus the Steelers. I mean, the real must-start here is the Steelers' defense, but also the Washington defense. I think the Steelers' offense is going to struggle, as they have, against good defenses, but I think you're still okay to start McLaurin and Gibson, but they're not going to do great. I mean, but you're not going to bench them, but I mean, they're up against this great defense. They're not going to do great. I think Big Ben and the wide receivers, that whole core of Steelers wide receivers, I think you start them. But again, I think they might have this Washington defense, very good defense. They're winning with defense. And Snell, listen, he did not look good last week. I expect him to not look good again this week. Tyler Jolly, he says, this is my first year doing fantasy, and you might as well be speaking another language, but you're in second place. That sounds to me like you auto-drafted your team. Tell me if I'm right. And by the way, no relation to Yoel Romero. All Romeros are not related. Okay, my sleeper, by the way, in that game is Ebron. Obviously, he blew some opportunities last week, but I think he gets them again this week against the Steelers D. Cowboys, Ravens, listen, the must-start here is the Ravens defense for obvious reasons. I mean, I think you're okay to start the Cowboys defense because, again, they still don't have Lamar Jackson off of COVID, and I think he has to, test negative for, multiple days in a row. He might not make this game, and if that happens, that Cowboys defense could suddenly be worth playing. And I think you're safe to start Amari Cooper because he seems to get the volume no matter what. Zeke, I think, is going to struggle mightily again. And the Ravens offense, I mean, J.K. Dobbins, all these backup guys, they have no pass game. I don't know. Mark Andrews is still on the COVID list. So without that, I just didn't... I don't see a lot of good offensive options. I think it's going to be Ravens defense versus Cowboys defense. And ultimately, I mean, you know what? I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I'm going to pick the Cowboys to sneak a win against these Ravens. I know, maybe I'm crazy. We'll reconvene and visit this next week. That is it, guys. Those are the games. I hope you make the playoffs. I don't expect to hold on to my second place position because I'm probably going to take a loss this week, but I feel like I'm going to have if McCaffrey comes back and stays healthy through week 16, I think the Wilsons got a real chance of taking home the title, baby. All right, you guys. Also, if you can, please, on my social media, in my all my social media is the link to my sister's GoFundMe for a kidney transplant operation that she's going to have next year. So if you can donate to that, that'd be great. Sarah's Kidney Transplant GoFundMe. Find that on all my social media. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been Fantasy Football. Reality.